Hello and welcome to episode 14 of The Wolves Report. The Wolves Report is an independent football podcast aiming to bring you weekly match analysis and opinions on the mighty Wolverhampton Wanderers. Today we're going to be talking about Liverpool, 1 goal in 5, a case for defence, Rayan Ait-Nouri, the transfer window, your questions, and bracing ourselves for the game at Man City. Of course, the podcast wouldn't be complete without our two regular pundits in the form of Mr. Happy, Chris Tyler, and Mark Knock, who passed a late fitness test just about, but we're not sure how long he'll last. But we won't go into the full details, but it wasn't him last week. So, gentlemen, then, here we go. Episode 14. Apologies for not getting on last week. That was on me. I will spare you the detail of that. Well, I wasn't on, but that was on me. So, we've missed a couple of games, but I think the best thing to do, we missed the 2-0 nils, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about the Liverpool game. Now, I think if we'd have all been offered the 1-0 before the game, we'd have all taken that and gone, oh, that was close, wasn't too bad. I mean, there's some positives, there's some negatives. The group chat's been going like crazy. But Tyler, start us off on that game. Give us your opinion on Wolves 0, Liverpool 1.
Yeah, just quickly though, if that's Knocker passing a fitness test, I'd hate to see him failing one.
He's off.
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, I suppose, I don't know, out of the three of us catching up after the game, I was probably strangely for once, the most maybe level-headed. I thought the manner of that defeat always hurts, doesn't it? It kills you. It just takes the wind out of you big time. You know, you're thinking the points there, you've weathered the storm. Yes, they've had chances, they've had good chances on another day. You know, I agree with you, Ryan. We could have lost 2-3, 4-0. But when you get to the 94th minute of a football match and you're level, you just don't want to lose it, do you? So, yeah, I agree with what you said. I think there's a couple of big positives to take from it. But yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. There's also a lot of negatives. And I don't think the performance was as good or deserved the point just because we defended valiantly. You know, they've missed hitters. And I know you don't want to talk about the Norwich and Burnley game, but Norwich missed hitters. So
we're definitely going to talk about them in a bit, but we've got like 1 hour to talk about 3 games. So
yeah, but
we'll focus on the nearest and it will highlight the bits. Yeah.
Yeah, link it where Norwich had 3 or 4 really good chances against us and Liverpool the same. So they're a quality outfit. They're one of the best teams in Europe, if not the world. So we were 30 seconds away from all being absolutely delighted, weren't we? And in the end, it's a sicker, isn't it? But I think the result was a fair one. I think Liverpool deserved to win the football match.
Knocker, give me your take on that game. What are your initial? Now you've had time. Now you're not on fire, and the WhatsApp group hasn't started to melt. Tell me your thoughts now. You've had a chance to process it, and you're a little bit damaged.
I'm inclined to agree to a point. I think that we had a game plan. We stuck to that game plan. We executed it really well. I thought defensively we were absolutely solid. I thought that we controlled the considerable threats really well. The only thing for me, and where I slightly differ from Chris on this one, is that although you're playing arguably the best team in world football at the moment, you can't take them on toe to toe. We all know that it'd be ridiculous to think you can stand up, and take on Liverpool. But I want to see a bit more ambition in the way that when we do get the opportunities to break, because Raul was so deep, he was almost playing as a third midfielder, and that we never looked like we were going to try to get anything out of the game. And with the best one in the world, whether it's the first minute or the 94th minute, Liverpool are going to break you down at some point. And yeah, we're all happy that we've kept it down to 1, but let's not forget Jota's missed an absolute sitter in the first half. If they score one of those early chances, 2 sitters, yeah. If they take one of those chances and we're a goal down, the second the ball hits the net, the game is completely over because we don't have the ambition or ability to get back into it. So I agree with Chris in the sense that we did really well, the way that we set up and the way that we played. But for a team 4 years in the Premier League to have that level of ambition, I mean, I believe that was the lowest amount of shots Liverpool have faced in a few seasons now. So yeah, positives definitely, but for me, I would rather have seen us lose 3-1, but have a right good go at them, and just try and get something out of the game. Just try and have something a little bit more exciting. Because what would have been worse, realistically, losing 5-0 in that game or losing the way we did? Because for me, losing that 94th minute like that was an absolute heartbreaker, especially when it was our own fault.
It was a painful one to take, but it's an interesting point what you both say. I think I mean, there's a few. I mean, I put an article out today, and a few people agree with it, a few people haven't, in terms of our approach and what we've been doing recently, particularly at Norwich and Burnley. But I think he's on a hiding to nothing in those games. Yes, I want to see some ambition, but equally, I know you say, but I don't want to be slapped 5 or 6-0. So I think the Liverpool and the Man City game are two unique games of football, because those two stand alone compared to everyone else. They're on an absolute another planet. But you make a really good point, Knocker, in terms of you want to see your team compete after 4 years in the Premier League. Defensively, I mean, it was, as you say, I thought it was, other than the mistake at the end, the couple of mistakes leading up to the goal, it was as good as it's got for us defensively. It was excellent. I mean, we'll talk about Aït-Nouri in a bit, but he's pocketed one of the best wide forwards in world football. So, and we'll talk about him in a bit as well. But looking back, though, Tyler, would you have done anything different? Could we have done anything different?
I don't think you can. I'm not sure what you can do too differently. And yeah, Knocker's right. You know, as a fairly established Premier League team, you'd like to think you can offer a little bit more. But if you go and offer a little bit more, that's when they pick you off and pull you apart. They'd scored, I think, 5 in 2 of the last 4 away games, and then scored 4 in the other 2 at home. I mean, they score goals for fun. So to limit them to 1, you could argue is a positive. I don't think I'd have done anything different. I think the team selection was correct. I think Traoré was the good call to start with. I thought he had a half-decent game. He was the one player that offered us an outlet, offered us something going forward. At least we're making Liverpool think about things defensively. Like you said, you can't really fault any of the players. I know Hoover's sort of split opinion and some are sticking up for him, but what he's done for me is unforgivable. It's not good enough at this level, and he's got previous for doing it, you know, at Man United away as well. So it's not like it's a one-off. That's at least twice he's done it now. So I've got no sympathy for him. I don't think we could have done much differently, to be honest. But I think Knocker's right. If Liverpool score, if Salah scores that one where it's flashed across, or Jota's header, I think we probably do end up getting beat 3 or 4. And I don't know if with the lack of goals we conceded, I think I sound negative like I always do, is covering up, I think, some fairly average defensive performances. Like I said, Liverpool would have had 3 or 4. Norwich could have had 3 or 4. Burnley, we kept pretty quiet at Italy, and that was a good defensive display.
Yeah, but Norwich, we got away with murder. I know we go back to it, but 0-0, coming away in the end of that game thinking, we're lucky to get a point here. We should have lost at Norwich. And I mean, we're going to talk tactics in a bit in terms of that stuff, but I mean, I don't know what more we could have done, Knocker, in that game. It's frustrating. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, particularly in football. I'm just going to go on to a couple of comments straight away. One of our regulars, Evening Martin, thanks for joining us again. Also, Terry Towling, Liverpool didn't look great at the back.
I'd agree with that.
I think the few times we got forward, they were terrified of Traoré. Now, I know we can dig into this a little bit more. They were terrified of Traoré. What really surprised me, though, is Traoré pretty much stayed on the right-hand side. Now, I thought the more space would have been in behind Alexander-Arnold. Now, although Robertson's a decent fullback, he said Traoré's his worst nightmare. He's the hardest player he's played against. I think, for me, the spacing behind Liverpool is behind Alexander-Arnold because there was so much space. But not only that, why did we take Traoré off? We was at Leeds together, Tyler. And I thought after we took Traoré off then, it basically says, come and get us. Now, as good as Jimenez is, and he is really good, he's not going to pick the ball up and run and beat 3 or 4 people. Now, when Traoré, although he's not been doing that recently as much as we would have liked, if you're taking away that potential threat, the one player they're afraid of, it screamed to me, come and get us, come and win the game. Knocker?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the game was lost on 2 substitutions. One was enforced and one was just a very strange decision. When you look what he did to Van Dijk in the second half when he robbed him, Alexander-Arnold good going forward, but for me, you can get joy against him every single time, and I think Traoré could have ripped him apart. So, yeah, I don't know. I think tactically he was spot on up till he made those substitutions, and then everything fell apart then. And you could say, you know, the Adama one, that one for me makes no sense at all. And I'll argue till I'm blue in the face about that.
There's people on Facebook, and he splits opinions. People on Facebook and Twitter, and it's fine. We're on here to give our opinions. There's 3 blokes that love Wolves talking about our football club. I think we've all got time for Adama in different ways, but there's people that really can't stand him. They're like, oh, he's rubbish. I'm glad he took him off anyway. But even if you don't like him, you have to appreciate that he's a threat that can hurt any team. You could put him alongside any defender in the world, and he has the ability to beat you. And that means there can be a goal from that situation. And the fact that's been ignored cost us at Leeds. He wasn't directly involved in the penalty and coming off, but the fact that he invited Leeds on and invited Liverpool on, for me, that was just... I'm not going to say unforgivable because it's still early days for Bruno, but surely now there's a pattern developing. If you invite a team on in the Premier League and you're saying, we're holding on for a point and then holding on for 3 points, and that happens twice, you've got to learn your lesson from that. It's just frustrating.
I think with someone like Adama, he makes an impact without actually touching the ball. Because the defence will naturally sit 10 yards further back because they know they can't allow any space in behind them. Because if you allow Adama in behind you, he's going to destroy you. So the second he went off, the whole Liverpool back line pushed forward. You could see that there was a lift in the team. Yeah, you could feel that they felt, we can go on and win this now. And it just put us under so much pressure because there was absolutely zero danger of a break at that point, and we completely cut our own throats for me.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. I put some tweets out after the game. I've done an article, and it's been split in opinion. I had some interesting things said to me, and that's fine. People are allowed to express themselves. I don't take it personally, but I've got to be honest. As you said, Tyler, and I think you might have said it as well. I don't, other than defensively and showing loads of heart, I don't think Wolves played that great. I think you could say Jose and the 3 centre-backs were outstanding. I thought Rayan Ait-Nouri was really good. I don't think Semedo was that great. I thought the midfield 2 worked hard, didn't really do anything, but they didn't have a lot in front of them. Raul was totally isolated. Hwang worked hard. I don't think he had any impact on the game. And Traore was the danger. Now, that to me, a basic analysis of the game says to me we didn't play that well. And I think because it happened in the way it did, people feeling a little bit unjust, but that's football. It happened to us at Villa, and granted, it's a bit of reverse at Villa because we didn't deserve anything at Villa, but somehow we've won that game. And you have to get it on every podcast. So,
I was going to say you paid for this for these things. You did right, Ryan. Like I said at the start, on another day, that's a 3-4-0 defeat, and Liverpool are comfortable like they've been with everyone else. Like I said, if we go a goal or 2 down, we're never getting back into the game.
No, never.
We're just not. Another issue we've got, and hopefully we'll get time to talk about it. 12 goals in 15 games.
Yeah,
I mean it's pathetic. That's the only word that you can use for it. Only Norwich have scored fewer. It's pathetic. So if we go a goal down, it's 2-0 down. It's game over.
It's like you've read
done by because it was the last minute.
It's like you've read my screen. Still with us says not scoring goals has cost us far more points in the last few games than one mistake via Liverpool, and that feeds perfectly into your comment, Tyler. It really does. It's a great point. The worry at Norwich was we didn't really create any chances. There was a couple of half chances, but nothing big. Burnley was a little bit better, but we didn't exactly pepper the keeper. Now, for me, I don't think we did enough tactically to win the game in those games. And as still with a says in terms of not scoring enough goals, I think the formation has to take a certain amount of responsibility. And we've said it before. If you see the whole performance against West Ham, I'm all for that kind of wing-back performance. If you see the first half against Everton, I'm all for it. But we haven't seen that enough with the wing-backs. No. If your wing-backs aren't getting high up and pressing and attacking, obviously Man City and Liverpool aside, different games then. But against anyone else, I'm expecting my team to have a go. We didn't do enough for me against Burnley. I don't think we were brave enough with the substitutions. I don't mind if they start wing-backs, but if it's not working and you're trying to push for a win, make the changes in the game. Be braver. Yeah. Now, that might be harsh. We're only a third of the season in, but this is like Knocker said, we're 4 years into the Premier League. I'm expecting our team to be kicking on and pushing and trying to win games and be brave. Knocker.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, for me, it comes down to the squad size. I mean, if you look at our bench in the last few games against Burnley and Norwich, we could only field 8 substitutes, 2 of which are goalkeepers. So if you actually look at our squad in terms of who's fit at the minute, we've probably got a 14-man squad, if we're being honest, without goalkeepers. And that's just absolutely abysmal for a team in our level. I mean, Kundal's on the bench. He's on the bench purely to make numbers up. He's never going to play because he's miles away. He's a young lad developing his game. He's not ready to play football at this level yet. So to have a bench this standard 4 years in is an absolute embarrassment. And when you have the situation that we had, I mean, you look at the contrasting teams, obviously Liverpool are miles ahead of us, and you'd be ridiculous to think otherwise. But it's not working for them. So what do? They bring Origi on, a guy who hardly gets any football. He comes on and he wins them the game. You look at our bench, what are we going to do? You're going to bring Silva on. He's not going to win you a football match. And apparently, if the rumours of his attitude are true, then he's finished anyway.
That's a
so
stinker.
there's nothing on the bench to impact a game.
Mm-hmm.
This is 4 years in the Premier League. 4 years. This isn't a team who've just come up on a shoestring and tried to survive. We were in Europe a couple of years ago. We got to an FA Cup semi-final. We had a good squad of players, and it's absolutely fell off a cliff. And I think unless we get that sorted, I think maybe the points return has papered over a lot of cracks this season, but those points can be eked away. Don't you worry about that. So, and with the impending disaster coming up in the transfer window, I don't see it getting any better. In fact, I think we'll come out weaker from this transfer window than we go into it.
Well, have you got any good news, Knocker, or is it?
I actually don't.
Yeah, it's looking good.
You come be the miserable one.
Crikey, I've got to pep the show up here a little bit, lads. No, but I mean, we'll talk about the transfers in a little bit, but I personally don't think it'll be as bad as people say. But let's move on to a positive then. Romain Saiss, Connor Cody, Max Kilman, case for the defence. Those guys were outstanding on Saturday. If 3 players didn't deserve, and probably Aït-Nouri as well, didn't deserve to be on a losing side, it was those guys. Body on the line stuff from Cody. Saiss, I thought he managed what he had to do on that side of the ritual. And Kilman as well, making light work of free scoring Liverpool. Absolutely fantastic. So, although we lost the game, you've got to say, guys, the back 3 were simply outstanding. Well, they've got no choice. You've got to be outstanding, haven't you, to almost stop Liverpool. So,
yeah. I thought. I mean, we've said it for a few weeks now, haven't we, about how Cody's really come on. And again, I thought he was excellent. Clearance in the first half was brilliant. Obviously, the one from Jota, it's brilliant defending, but Jota just has to stroke it home, doesn't he? Let's be honest.
He's had a mare and
score.
Stinker.
Kilman was excellent. I mean, if you think you've got sort of Salah and Mane playing in those pockets between the fullbacks, Mane had the chance second half, but that was it. And I've not seen Mo Salah that quiet before in a football game. So you do have to give credit for that. Aït-Nouri had comfortably the best game I've ever seen him have in a Wolves shirt. And it was just really nice to see that defensive side of him. People say, he's a bit of a show pony, step overs, gets forward, doesn't deliver. But defensively, I thought he was superb. And similar to Burnley, I don't really hark on about those games, but Chris Wood got dragged off after an hour for one reason and one reason only. He wasn't getting a kick. And again, that was down to, that back 3 just keeping him very quiet. So there are positives to be had from it. And it's hard to criticise any of the 3 centre-halves on Saturday, really.
Well, let's give Connor Cody a bit of praise because, I mean, he's obviously, I wouldn't say he split the fan base, but if he plays, it's kind of got to be, we've always said it's kind of got to be in a back 5, but the way he's come on this season in terms of his aggression. Now, like Chris Wood last year, hat-trick at Molineux. Chris Wood this year, subbed, didn't get a kick because straight in, Wolves were aggressive. And you've got to give credit to Bruno for that because Wolves defensively look more aggressive. They're first to the ball. We're attacking the ball. We're not as passive now. A lot before was the defender, the forwards would quite easily get between the man and the ball and bully us. Now we're attacking and we're there. And like that bit of simple coaching of being more aggressive, it's taken Cody on another level again, and you have to give him credit. I mean, you can't dislike the guy at all, but he's now got the aggression that's been missing because physically he's not big for a centre-back and he's not quick, but his football ability and what he's doing, you've got to say he's been consistently one of Wolves' best players this season. Yeah,
completely agree. I think we've said a few times on this podcast that the evolution side of the team will eventually be 4 at the back, and we've all come on and said Cody ain't going to be part of that. Well, I think he is. I really do, because we didn't give him enough credit for his ability to evolve and to develop his game. And he's, he's really worked hard, and you can see that now. He's not getting bullied the way he was. He'll give the defender a little nudge when the ball's in the air now, rather than just standing off. I remember Mitrovic pinned him a couple of years ago when we were at, we lost 2-0 the year we went up, and he just backed him, spanning and bang. He doesn't get caught like that anymore because he's a student of the game. He's learned how to improve his own performance now. And I think playing along Max Kilman's helped because he's absolutely trusts Max Kilman and for good reason as well. So I think the evolution of Wolves can involve a back 2 of Cody and Kilman. And with Saiss as a backup, we don't look too bad defensively. I think we can almost, look elsewhere for things that need immediately strengthening.
I mean, talking about a case for defence, you couldn't really fault the 3 centre-backs. But I know we've talked about it again, but in terms of where we go forward, just as a question to you both, if a game was coming up and we had to play Kilman and Cody and it was an option, would you give it a run against a bottom half side? Tyler? Sorry, Knock.
I'd give it a good...
No, you're right.
I think we're both going to say yes, aren't we, after what Knock has just said. And I'd give it a run against anyone. I think I said on here a few weeks ago, we all say we haven't got the player for a back four, but Conor Cody represents his country in a back four, playing alongside Tyler Mings, a left-footed centre-half. So he's doing it at international level. Admittedly, Gareth doesn't pick him against, the top nations, and we're not stupid enough to know he's at that level compared to some of his, peers in the England squad. But he's playing for his country in the back four. So why can't he play for his club in the back four? For me, he can. No-brainer.
Yeah, but completely agree. And people have this little myth about 4-2-3-1 as well, that it's a more attacking formation.
Well, this is a good point. I want to get onto this, but do it. Go on, Knocker.
It's really not. I mean, you've got a flat bank four. You've got 2 full-backs as opposed to wing-backs, which naturally is going to give you some cover. You can have 2 midfielders sat in front of your back four if you play in a Man City or a Liverpool. And then you can basically have everyone else attacking. So you've got plenty of cover at the back. You've got plenty of attacking options up front. It just makes you a little bit stronger in those attacking areas. So I don't know why everyone's so scared to go 4-2-3-1. I'd do it against Man City this week.
I don't think any of us are scared, Knocker. I don't. No. I know people say we haven't got it, but the evolution of Conor Cody now suggests that we could probably try that, but
we're never going to know, are we? Unless we give it a go, we're never going to know if it's going to be effective.
Well, that brings into this nicely. Dave Lester, Daddy-O himself. Will Wolves go with a back four when Saïss Mbolé on the African Cup of Nations? Now, the way it's going, Marcel not always managing to stay fit, potentially left-sided centre-back. Is he going to put Dendoncker in and go with a 3? Or do we go with a 4? Because what does he do? Does he then put Kilman over to the left-hand side and Dendoncker to the right? Then you've got no cover centre midfield at all.
Yeah.
Or do you then roll the dice? Because I think that's just after the Chelsea game, we lose the players. So after the Chelsea game, then, we lose the players. Are we in a position when we can try a back four?
For me, I think it would be more dangerous to bring Marcel into a back 3 because he's not used to playing there with us. For me, I would rather see us go to a 4, and his hand could be forced in that sense. And as you said, if we put Dendoncker in a 3 and Neves or Moutinho need to come off, what are we going to do? Unless we recall Gibbs-White and switch everything around in midfield, what are you going to do? You've absolutely got no options in midfield. So the natural thing for me is to go 4-2-3-1 with Dendoncker available to drop into the back 4 if he's needed, or into midfield if he's needed. And that's probably the best option we've got, and it's probably not far off the only option we've got, in all honesty.
I mean, I'm slightly in disagreement. I wouldn't want to see a back 4 at Man City, because I think as good as Liverpool were, I think Man City are another again. And if we, any space for them.
I do agree, but if we go 5 at the back against Man City, do we win the game?
We've done it before.
Oh, we're different team now, though, aren't we? I mean, these are bonus points for me. So let's try and get our hands on a couple of these bonus points. Let's go and have a bit of a go of them, ruffle them up a little bit, leave some reducers on them. Just get into them a little bit, upset them, put them on the back foot.
Yeah,
because these teams are much better attacking than they are defensively, because they put all of their money into those attacking positions.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Let's just
get at them. Let's go and, don't give them respect. As soon as you see Jack Grealish on the pitch, put him in row A. Let's just get in their faces and show them we're not scared of you. We respect you, but we're going to hurt you, and we're going to have a right good go at you today. Because if we don't, we'll turn up with our usual formation and we'll still lose 3-0 comfortably without having a shot on goal. We're going to lose regardless. For me, we're a different. I know we won there before, but we are a different team now. So let's just have a crack.
We're digressing a bit into the Man City, which we want to talk about a little later on. But let's move into 1 goal in 5. Now, this is something the biggest concern for me, because like I said, we've praised the defence and they deserve praising, because overall this season we look considerably better from set plays. We don't really get played through as much. There just looks to be a better shape. And for me, just finishing off on that, I think it's to be a lot more aggression. Everyone seems more aggressive, more determined. There seems to be more hunger to get to the ball first, as a standing off and being a bit more zonal. So hopefully that continues. However, as a result of that, Wolves just aren't scoring any goals. And not only that, it doesn't look like they're going to score any goals. So one goal in 5, should have lost at Norwich, didn't really get a chance. A couple of chances against Burnley, didn't do enough to win that game. You can forgive Saturday, that's a write-off. West Ham, we just about got over the line. But guys, we'll start off with you on this one, Tyler. How are we going to change this? How we've seen the performances where wing backs gives us a couple of goals. But so just to put some openers in there for you two, where's the football gone from the opening 3 games of the season? Well, we didn't get battered. We lost 1-0 and we looked like loads of goals in us. We are now the complete opposite of that now. Tyler, what are we going to do?
It's desperate, isn't it? Oh, it's absolutely desperate. And I mean, I was so vocal slaughtering Nuno's Wolves when we averaged a goal a game. We're now averaging far less than that. I genuinely think the forward players aren't as good as we think they are. I think, we wax Liverpool about, well, some Wolves fans have their favourites, don't they? But Podence, Hwang, Adama, Trincao, Neto, the goal output is disgraceful. You can't, there's no other way of looking at it. It's just not good enough. If
so how are we going to fix it?
I don't know if you can. The personnel are the same, aren't they? It's been the same now, Ryan, for how many years? Is it 18 months? Coming up 2 years?
But this is my point now. Is it just a personnel issue? Because I think personally, it's more of a tactical issue. And I know I harp on back about this, but you look at the 2 games v Arsenal when we played 4 at the back and Podence was in the number 10. Wolves look a completely different side. Wolves look when Podence is in that pocket, and I know he splits fans as well, and he's desperately lucky to have got COVID and be out the side. I think it's equally a personnel as it is it's a tactical as it is a personnel issue, Tyler.
But then the first 3 games of the season, we played this formation and we looked like we should have scored 5 goals every game.
So where's it gone?
It's going to be a mixture of everything, isn't it? Like we said, Matinho and Neves were pressing in those games. They're not anymore. They've gone back to their deeper positions. Adama was so high up the pitch. Raul was so high up the pitch. Raul started to come deeper now. So I think it's a mixture of everything. It is the personnel. I don't think the players are as clinical or as good enough as we think they are. And I do think tactically we have slowly started to revert back to that, be a bit deeper and try and hit on the counter-attack. So I think it's a mixture of all of it, Ryan. Even Neto in that great season he had didn't score many goals. Neves was still second on with 4 or 5. I think it's both. And I genuinely, like I say to you boys quite a lot, I don't think these forward players are as good as we think they are. Mo Salah on his own has scored more goals than us this season. I mean, that's a criminal stat. It's absolute criminal. Right? And we played Burnley and Norwich in 2 of them games, probably the 2 worst teams in the division. For me, it's indefensible. I know he's a new manager. We've got to give him time. But
in terms of the regression of style, as Martin said, when you struggle to keep hold of the ball, you rarely get anything. Just invites wave after wave. And that feeds into what you said, Knocker. The best sides love attacking, but you get at them. You know what I mean? That's what they don't like. So, but I feel like you said then, Tyler, Wolves have taken a step back, and it does feel the last 2. Well, I'm gonna park the Liverpool game because whatever your opinion on that, it's there against those 2. You can't really judge because they're on another planet. But for me, the concern of the previous 2 games. Now, people might be saying I've been harsh in that, but I would expect a team of what we have to be doing more to win those football games. So, on to you, Knocker. What are we going to do to change the goals for, Colin? What are we going to do? Because we can't keep repeating the same thing and expect it to change. We're going through a spell now. 1 goal in 5 games. That continues. Wolves are dropping fast.
Yeah, I don't think we can change it without improving the squad. With the best will in the world, Raul's come back from a really horrific injury, and we're expecting him to play every minute of every game and get us 15 goals. He's still adapting himself now. He needs to be able to come off and have somebody else of not equal quality, because we can't do that at a club our size, but a good player who can come on and get you a few goals here and there. We haven't got that. We haven't got 2 good players in every position. And I know we've had injuries, but these aren't new injuries. These are historical injuries. These are injuries we had last season and really with Johnny the season before that. So we've known this was coming. But if you can't replace quality with quality on your bench, you're not going to make any impact on football matches because you physically can't change it. If plan A doesn't work, the whole lot's out the door, isn't it? You can't change it. So unless we go into the window and really improve the squad, if that means we have to sell Adama and bring in 2 or 3 players of lower quality who maybe equate to a few more goals, and maybe that's what we'll do. But I just don't see it changing. I just think we are set up not to score a lot of goals, and I don't think we'll get hammered in games, but we're going to score, man.
One thing I'd say,
sounds a simple thing, but back at you, Ryan. You ask us all the questions. Where do you see the goals coming from? When a Wolves player's through on goal, apart from Jimenez, Are you ever confident they're going to score? You know,
Not really,
realistically.
no.
Adama goes through 50-50.
I mean, he's desperate. He's desperately lucky against Burnley. He had a lot of stick against Burnley, but he's an inch off that being yeah. I mean, he's desperately lucky in that. Just one thing I wanted to say about Knocker, about in terms of Raul, what I would say is we're not going to be totally reliant upon him. We shouldn't be, because he's still coming back. What I would say is the deeper the Wolves play, the less we get from Raul. When Raul's collecting the ball in midfield and he's got no one in front of him, we are not utilising a ridiculously talented footballer to his best potential. I mean, against Liverpool, we could have gone 5-3-2, leave Raul and Adama up, try and counter with those two. But Raul was so deep, and it's just you can't rely on him, like saying, producing every week, but you also can't expect him to be delivering if you're sitting that deep. I mean, he didn't really get anything at Norwich either, pinned back at Norwich. So,
but I mean, he played his best football when he was in a 2, when he was up with Jota.
Yeah, that's fair.
When we played Cardiff and we tore Cardiff apart in Molineux, and that was in our first season. That's probably the most exciting football we've played since we've been back in the division. So he needs a foil. He needs someone to take that pressure off him, because really, if Jimenez doesn't score, unless we bag one from a set piece, we're not going to get on the score sheet. And I don't know what you're saying about Adama, but if he crosses it to Jimenez, he's 1-on-1, or place it in the back of the net. He's tried to absolutely smash the net. You know, from that range, have a little bit more faith in yourself and pick what you're doing. Or if you're not sure, roll it to your left.
But that's my point, Knocker. There's no composed finishing anywhere.
No, exactly. You're absolutely right.
The opponents against Tottenham probably is the only one I can think of where someone went through it in the League Cup and I thought,
composed
score. I know, and Jimenez is the only other one who's got, he scored some beautiful goals again this season. But anybody else shooting, I mean, Moutinho and Neves shooting from 25, 30 yards. It's like but our shots, teeth, isn't it?
Our shots aren't on target. I mean, they're going into the back of the South Bank. We're not hitting the powder puff, aren't they? It's horrendous. It's like our corners. Every corner's the same, isn't it? A floaty little dip to the goalkeeper who's going to collect it. We just
jump into a comment from Wayne Mackay, who comments on Twitter and follows us on here as well. In my opinion, Jimenez is still a yard off the pace, as you mentioned, Knocker, and playing too deep, which I definitely agree with. I think, as we just said, the deeper. I mean, I don't mind Raul dropping in sometimes, and then it's sort of when Adama or switching or Hwang switching to play further forward. But the deeper Raul is, the more wasted he is. He's almost then becoming a centre midfielder, and I don't want him there. I want him linking the play or in and around the penalty box. So, yeah, great point, Wayne. Totally agree. As for Hwang, we've said this for a little while. Guy's determined. He's strong. He's got a bit of pace. But in terms of a player playing in that position, again, I'm not going to be overcritical for the Liverpool game. But what I would say is I'd expect him to be creating chances for his teammates, and he hasn't done that. I don't recall him. When's he? Well, I think he set up a half chance against Burnley, if I remember, a half chance. But I don't really remember him getting into a position and squaring to anybody. Now,
no,
I'm grateful for his goals. There's been some great finishes, particularly against Newcastle. But I need more. I need more creativity. Yeah. I need you causing more problems, and I need you beating your man and creating more. So it's frustrating because he had such a great start.
Yeah, you mentioned personnel, but I really want to see Podence, Adama, and Raul now as a 3. If we're going to play that 3 and keep playing it, they're the 3 I want to see. Podence against West Ham was brilliant in the little pockets. I mean, Hwang, I'm the same as you, Ryan. And you say these good finishes. You'd have scored the Watford one and the Leeds one.
Oh, thanks, mate.
They weren't great. And then I just don't, like you said, he offers nothing for me. Creates nothing. Yeah, he works hard, but I've said before, that's a bare minimum for any footballer.
But
so
you've just raised the main issue there, haven't you, son? Because we've had another transfer window. We brought in Trincao and Hwang, and we still want to go with Podence, Adama,
we still want to go back to them.
Because those players haven't improved us, have they? That's the biggest issue. The transfer business we've done has not improved us. So we want to go back to what didn't work more a few seasons ago, but it worked a little bit more than this lot's working at the minute. So it's just an absolute shambles in terms of the business we've done and the squad size. That's the thing, and I'd agree with you. I'll play the same through.
In terms of carrying on with the goal scoring conversation, 1 in 5 RS Wolves, we're never going to win games or worry the opposition if we don't score more than 1 goal in game. I mean, we're 1 goal in 5 games at the moment, never more than 1 goal in 1 game. And
6 shots in 3 games you've managed.
It's just
6 shots in 3 games
on target. I mean, yeah, it's a fair point, RS, and it's frustrating, and you could probably hear the frustration. I mean, Saturday was heartbreak, but I think I'm more annoyed about the Norwich and Burnley game than I am about losing in the 95th minute. I really am, because I think we can do a lot more. I think tactically we can do more, and I think that some of the players as well weren't producing either. All round, we just didn't do enough to win those games, and it's really, really frustrating.
The chance at Norwich we had was Moutinho had a half-open goal because the keeper nearly gave the ball away, and Adama's chance was from Burnley's corner. You know, they're nothing to do with the Wolves in game play or trying to create change. They were basically
good points, yeah,
errors from the opposition. We just don't look like creating chances and scoring goals. And that's...
So the shots on target we're getting, half of them are from errors, because we've only managed 2 a game for the last 3 games. So it's frightening that we can't open teams up. We can't get behind teams. We can't play that fast-flowing football that we used to play. I think Podence has been a huge problem in that sense, because he was coming back. He looked good for me. And then he got COVID, which took him out. I think with him in a number 10 position, it's got to be the long-term plan. But we just don't create anything. We don't look like we're going to create anything. I mean, when Adama hit the bar against Burnley, you might as well have just gone home, because there was no chance we were going to get another opportunity. We just never.
Here we go, boys. Look, how about this one from Martin? Knocker loves the reducer. Of course he does. And obviously, we're still running the competition of guess Knocker's job, and the best we've had so far is the butcher. Now, if Knocker was feeling 100%, he'd have come dressed as a butcher today. I don't know if that chap's on today or not, but that absolutely.
I blocked him. He's gone.
So let's move back on to a positive now, because this deserves some time. We mentioned him earlier on, but we need to give a special mention now to Rayan Ait-Nouri. If he doesn't come off the pitch, Wolves don't lose that game, in my opinion. I don't think if he's fit, I don't think that happens. I don't think that mistake happens, or mistakes, error in judgment, whatever. I don't think that happens. I think for someone who's known for their flair and their ability to make things happen at the other end of the pitch, defensively, to pretty much pocket one of the best forwards in world football is a tremendous achievement for a lad that hasn't played. I don't think he's played 50 professional games yet. He is a tremendous talent. And to come away from that, I don't know if he got man of the match on Saturday. He was certainly my man of the match. I don't know if anyone saw if he got man of the match or not. I don't know. But he was absolutely outstanding. Now, we was all worried about him defensively. I think he's come on leaps and bounds. He looks quick. He's combative. He's strong. Again, I think he's another defender who's improved under Bruno, because he's more aggressive now. He doesn't let people get in and bully him. He's got a footing. So, Tyler, have a little wax about Aït-Nouri for me.
Yeah, there's not much more to add than what you've said there, but I suppose the biggest compliment I suppose you can give maybe any player is, and this is a bit over the top for him, but you miss him when he's not there. And we missed him for those 2 minutes he came off. We missed him at Leeds when he came off and Semedo went left back, and we conceded late there as well.
Another player on his weak foot.
He's starting to really cement his place in that side. And, you know, the Marcel injury, it was always going to come at some point, wasn't it? Let's be honest. But it's been a blessing in disguise, really, because he looks like he's got all the capabilities to be a proper modern day fullback. You know, he's very good offensively. Although saying that, I think distribution was poor in both the Norwich and Burnley games. But then again, I think I mentioned it before, he's often cast adrift on that left side. He's looking at someone to pass it across to, but there's nobody there. So I have sympathy with him there. Sorry, but yeah.
That's okay, yeah.
Like I said, the best I can say is he's got everything to be a modern day fullback by the looks of it.
Someone did a mock-up of Aït-Nouri in the team. Did you see the formation? There's Aït-Nouri on the left, and the whole team was on the right-hand side, and Aït-Nouri was by himself. I feel sorry for him because he gets in those good positions, and they say, he often... There isn't really a lot of people around him, is that? Huang doesn't seem to get that close to one.
Yeah, that's where I liked at the start of the season, the inverted forwards, because if you've got Adama sort of on that side, potentially coming inside, but he's still in that position, you can then get Aït-Nouri going. Him and Huang don't seem to link up very well. There doesn't seem to be much, correlation between the two of them. There's not any sort of give and goes, 1-2s, synergy. That's the only thing I would say about it. But I don't know if that's Ait-Nouri or John Wang, really, because he just runs around like he's got a blindfold on. So maybe that's him. I don't know. But
Knocker, let's
big
hear
fan of Ait-Nouri.
let's hear your loving for Aït-Nouri.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you two said. I think the biggest compliment you can give him is that in current form, Johnny doesn't get back in the team for me. I think that you stick with Aït-Nouri.
Not if he plays like Saturday. He was brilliant.
Yeah, he's developing his game. I've never seen any player do that to Mo Salah, and you could see how good he was because he come off the pitch for 2 minutes and we lose the game, and it all came down that side. He completely controlled him, and I know that we talk about his final ball's not great, but if you've only got one player in the box, sometimes you haven't got any in the box. What on earth are you supposed to do? Because you whack it in the area and hope it drops, because that's literally all we've got. And I agree completely with Wang. He disappears off a blind alley. You've got Trincao disappears the other way and doesn't assist the attack. So unless you're going to hit Raul, he's not going to have any kind of effect on the game. But I thought he was brilliant. I think for the money we paid for him as well, it's an absolute steal. Yeah,
just before I come to this comment, I mean, Wolves have paid, as far as I understand, Wolves have paid 10 million for him, and that's the permanent deal. But is it Angers, the club before? I can't remember off the top of my head. But they own 50% of the sell-on rights. So unless we play the other 10 million, we'll lose 50% or whatever. But even still, sign a player of that 10 million. Now, I think Wolves will see that, and I think when they have some money to spend, they'll quickly pay that other 10 million. So he's 100% ours in terms of the sell-on clauses, because there was an article, I think Paris Saint-Germain looking, but I mean, 30 million, if you're pocketing Mo Salah and you're 20 and you're that footballer, yeah, you need to be doubling that, lads, at least, because he was outrageously good the weekend. Moving away from that now, RS Wolves again, have you noticed, I think you mentioned it then, Knocker, Wolves don't score goals like when you square it across the box. We don't really score that goal anymore, do we?
Yeah, there's no runners from midfield to start with. There's no late runners getting into the box. You need someone to break the lines, don't you, to do that? And if Raul's not in the box, no one else is in the box. You know, we think sometimes Dendon can arrive late, but we haven't got that midfielder to get into the box, but balls cut back and shoot. It's not the way we play, is it? We're too contained for that, and we haven't got the personnel for it.
It's Dave Edwards type you're missing, isn't it? It's someone to make that bright. Well, not obviously it wouldn't be Dave Edwards, but it's that type of player who makes those late runs in the box. He'd end up on 10, 15 goals a season.
This can't be real, man.
This I've had to put it up because I know I appreciate the goals he scored, but I had to laugh. I was talking about Huang, and he said, "Yeah, my tumble try works hard as well."
I'm inclined to agree with him as well. If I'm being,
how do you know about his tumble try?
He sent me a picture of it. I know it worked fine, but I agree. I don't think Huang. If you took Huang's goals away from him, I don't think he's contributed anything. And if our budget in the summer is going to be reliant on signing him, I wouldn't even bother with him.
Just to answer this quickly from Steve. So what it was, Steve, can you explain his 50%, how this 50% purchase works? Well, we haven't. We own 100% of the player, but the previous club owned 50% of the sell-on. So anything we sell, the previous club get 50%. So the original fee we agreed was 20 million. Wolves have said, we'll give you 10 now, and you own 50% of the sell-on clause. So anything they sell in the future, 50%. But these performances and the way he's playing and coming to the team, I think Wolves will get that snapped up, and to Wolves own 100% of the selling rights. So I hope that explains. I hope I explained myself okay then, Steve. But thanks for
We're going to have to take that on, because when Mendes has had his cut out of it as well, we're going to end up with about £5 off the back of that deal, aren't we? So
I'll tell you what.
Get that one sorted.
We're running out of time fast, boys. So I just want to get this up here, Knocker. You can answer this. Martin Webb, is Knocker a paramedic or a fireman?
I'm not quite that qualified, but I'm an industrial firefighter and medical first responder.
So pretty much
not a butcher.
Partial paramedic and partial fireman. Martin, well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my profile, so if anyone was that interested, they could have just clicked on me face and it would have come up anyway.
Martin, you dirty dog, you haven't looked.
There's foul play here.
Foul play from Martin.
I didn't say I'm a good one, by the way. I just said that's what I
do. Right, boys. Somehow we've only got 17 or 18 minutes left. So we've talked about case for defence, 1 goal in 5, Aït-Nouri. I haven't even done the Twitter questions yet, so let's just do quickly. I mean, we're going to talk about transfer window again next week. Minimum expectations for the transfer window, Tyler?
Me and Knocker are the wrong people to talk about Wolves in a transfer window, aren't we?
Listen, I've got to line up some questions, so fill a slot for me.
I'd say minimum expectations are 2 to 3 players. I think we might end up maybe signing 1. if we're lucky.
I'm going to take that.
I think Wolves will see it as Neto and Johnny are due back. I think they will probably end up recalling Gibbs White because we need bodies. If that's 3 players, plus you start to get maybe Bolly and Mosquera back, we're not going to sign more than 1 player, maybe 2. I just don't see it, and I think Knock has touched upon this before. I think they may well make the Hwang deal permanent, and maybe 1 more. I just can't see any more than that. I'd love to say I think I'd be a bit more positive, but January windows are tough. They're not easy windows. Clubs don't want to sell the players because they're fighting on all fronts for either Europe or to avoid relegation. So it's not really a selling market. Can we sneak a loan from Europe somewhere? But I just don't see it, to be honest. But I'd love 2 to 3 players.
Yeah, I completely agree.
What's your minimum expectation?
I said earlier, I think that we'll go out the window weaker than we came into it. So I think we'll sell Adama because I think they know that his value is depreciating every week. He doesn't sign the contract. So I think we sell him. I think he probably goes abroad. There's rumours of Real Madrid in for him. So he'll definitely be pushing that deal if that is true. I think we'll recall Gibbs White. I think they'll look at us defensively and think we're doing okay. And with Mosquera not too far away, Johnny on the mend. Up front, they'll probably look at Neto on the mend. And I think they'll just think, this will do, we'll be all right with this. We're in a comfortable position. We're halfway up the league, 21 points. I don't think we'll sign anyone. And if we do, I think it'll be a development player or someone who ends up at Grasshoppers or something like that. We're not going to go out and say he's 15 million for a footballer. There's zero chance that's going to happen. Unless we get part of a swap deal with Adama, perhaps. But I don't see that happening either, to be honest.
Well, the good news is it appears expectations are low, so we're going to struggle to be disappointed this window. Then, so
that is true. That is true.
So, but yeah, I have to say, I'm my opinion on this. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, Wayne Mackay, who mentioned on here, who's also mentioned on Twitter, he questioning the big time the process of signings like Catroni and Silva. 2 players we're never going to get our money back on. Dreadful signings. So Wolves' recent business hasn't been great, but you have to say Aït-Nouri, that looks like a bit of good business. But
he's touched on a really good point there, hasn't he? Because 35 million for Silva, 10 plus for Hoover, was it 16 for Catrone? Paul Gladden, I know that's going back a little bit, but
all right, so
we've got some absolute shockers, haven't we, in the last few years? It's been embarrassing our transfer windows.
That Fabio one needs a criminal investigation.
It does, yeah.
What anyone says. That's a big transfer if ever you've seen one.
What was the basis for signing him? What was the basis for signing him? Because he hadn't scored a league goal. He got, 1 appearance for Porto? And we whack out £35 million on him. I mean, that's just absolutely horrific business. Yeah. And you get them with Mendes because you know that you'll get a Martinho for £5 million. And then end up paying 35 for a Fabio. But, I mean, that was our entire budget, absolutely up the Swanee. And we lost, some good players that season with Jota. We basically put that money straight down the drain because not one of those.
Yeah, he's. I don't know if you still there, Knocker.
Yeah, I'm still there.
I thought you'd infected your phone as well. Then
it's smoking, but it should be fine for the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, regarding the it's back on just finishing off on Wayne's point. Yeah, there's the confidence in terms of what we'll do in the window. I don't know who's making the decisions in terms of Fabio, but you'd have to question it because he is nowhere near it, and Bruno can see he's nowhere near it because at Norwich and at Burnley, you're looking for a win. One of your boys is echoing, if you don't mind. You're right. You're right. Okay. It might be you, Knocker. Yeah.
I like your voice that much. I want to hear it was.
Oh, thanks, mate. Paul Nichols, a question from Paul Nichols on Twitter. Thanks, Paul. Why can't we beat teams lower in the table? You both gone? Look, I've kicked you both out. Yeah, I got you now, Knocker. Yeah. So Paul Nichols asks, why can't Wolves beat teams lower in the table?
Do you hear me?
It's just me then. Well, I've lost my 2 boys off my podcast, so I'll go through some questions. Hopefully, they can jump back on shortly. I think we asked then, Paul, why can't Wolves beat teams low in the table? I put an article out about this today. Sort of split the pack up a little bit on that again. I don't think Wolves are positive enough against those opponents. I think the setup is wrong. As much as I like the wing-back situation, I think against the lesser teams, and no disrespect to them, the teams in the bottom, Wolves need to be more aggressive. So looks like you've been refreshed, Knocker, and you're back on your Wi-Fi.
I'm back now. So let me ask you a question, Ryan. Do you think with the transfer business that we've done, are we crying out for a director of football now?
That's a great question. I think someone asked that on Twitter as well. Let me just give that credit to someone on there. I'm sure someone asked that in terms of director of football. Andy Craig, do Wolves need a director of football? So back into what you said there, Knocker. Absolutely, they do. I don't know who's making the decisions on the likes of Fabio and Hoover. Hoover make them good, but I mean, he's been, as long as he's been at Wolves now, nearly 18 months. Yeah. I haven't really seen an impact from what he's done. He's nowhere near Semedo. I mean, this isn't a witch hunt from him. He didn't have to apologise for Saturday. That's football. We make mistakes, but
I don't like that, to be honest with you. I don't like the whole apologetic culture that we're in now.
Do we need a director of football? For me, we absolutely do. I think we need a thoroughbred, pure football man back at the club who can be the link between the manager and the directors. And I just don't feel like we've got that. I just don't feel like there is. If there is someone there now, Scott Sellers is, I don't know what his actual role is, but you have to look at these last 3 or 4 windows and say it's just not working. Because, like you said, Jota for Fabio, terrible bit of business. And then spending some of the money on Hoover, that does not look like good business either. So Wolves' track record in the last few windows is really, really poor. Let me just try and it's all going wrong in there. Can't answer any of these questions. Can't even get on. Okay. Nice to see you back, Tyler. Enjoy your break.
Sorry, boys.
That's okay.
I did a Fabio and went missing for a bit.
I think just going back to the director of football situation, I think that Jeff Shee's kind of a jack of all trades, but he's a master of none, isn't he? Because he seems to be doing everything, but not doing anything well. So maybe we take the pressure off him by bringing someone else. I mean, he came out and said that he thought the Jota deal was the best deal he's made since he's been at Wolves. I mean, what would they sell Jota for now? 80? 75, 80 million probably?
Minimum.
I'm not saying we'd have ever got that at Wolves, but
no.
Say that's your best bit of business and you're going to sign Fabio Silva and Hoover with them, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a stinker. I've
scandalous.
Got a question there from Jamie Walters 23 on Twitter. Thank you for you, Jamie, and thank you for everyone for commenting so far. I've had loads of comments, particularly from YouTube, a couple from Facebook, so we'll get on as many as we can. Thank you. Jamie Walters asks, if we keep all players in January and continue with 3 up top, who are your first choice to go up front with Jimenez? We'll start that off with you, Tyler.
If we play the 3 up front and everybody's fit, I would go Podence, Neto, and Jimenez. While Neto's off injured, I'll go Podence, Adama, Jimenez. But they're 2 for me are the most creative, I think.
Knocker?
Yeah, similar. Podence definitely, Raul definitely, and then it's a toss-up between Adama and Neto. But I think until Neto's fit, I'll be going Adama, but I don't think it'll be too long until he takes over from him.
I know I'm sort of cheating on here a little bit, Jay, on your question, but I want to see Jimenez up top, Podence in the hole. I want to see Adama on the left going inverted, and I want to see Neto on the right. That's the dream for me. I want those 4 up front, and that 4, I think, can terrify, because if both those wide players are cutting inside onto their stronger foot, I think you'll get more for Adama because you can't double up on everybody. But that also tells me the level of recruitment if we're leaving Hwang and Trincao on the bench. Like you said earlier on, one of you boys said it, we haven't improved. They're squad players. They're nice to have, but they're certainly no better than what we've got full strength. So great question, Jay. Thank you very much for that. Let's have a little look. Here we go. This is on topic as well. Dave Butler, a friend of mine, and also sort of looks at the podcast and on dropped us a question on Twitter. Is it necessary for young players to immediately apologise after a loss? What does it achieve? That is a great question. We'll start off with you, Knocker, on that one.
No, I hate it when they apologise because you're insinuating you've intentionally done something wrong for me. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. We're all human. We all make mistakes. As long as you learn from that mistake, then you can live with it, can't you? But if you apologise to me on a Saturday and then go and do exactly the same at Man City next week, the apology meant nothing. So I don't think there's any need for players to come out and apologise. I don't think it achieves anything. I don't think it's necessary. I just don't see the point of it.
Tyler?
Yeah, it's the culture we're in, isn't it? I think Bruno Fernandes put like a 3-paragraph apology for
missing a penalty.
For missing a penalty, it's ridiculous.
I'm not interested.
Imagine us about 10 years ago. There'd be an apology every week.
Knocker's right. Don't make the same mistake, but Hoover already has made that mistake and he's done it again. So just keep training, keep your head down, keep working hard. I don't want to hear it, to be honest.
No, it's a great question from Dave. Now, the thing is, for me, is I don't know if it's the culture we're in, whether it's a younger generation and people they feel like they have to apologise. I don't get it. It's a sport. You make mistakes. It's a high speed, high impact, high pressure, intensity, 100 mile an hour. Mistakes are going to be made. It's football. You know what I mean? I don't want players apologising every week. Just do your job, and like you said, try and learn from it. I don't personally blame you for that defeat. You've made a mistake. You're a human. Life goes on. Yeah. Hopefully, you know what? You'll grow from that. I'm sure it would have hurt, and you gutted against your old club. I'm not blaming you. No one's blaming you because you know what? You're playing out of position. You got caught out. It's a mistake. Life goes on. Don't apologise. I don't want to see my if a player's done something really bad and embarrassed the football club away from football and he's trying to get back into the club to play football, you can apologise then. If you've done some off-the-field actions that are inappropriate, apologise then. Don't apologise for when you're playing football. I'm not interested. I'm absolutely... No. I just don't... It's...
Brian Law stole a bus.
I don't know if it's...
That's something you apologise for. You don't apologise for missing. It's very much... it's a cultural thing now, isn't it? We all need an arm around us these days. We're too scared to get a slap on the chin and just get on with it.
Right, boys. Before we go on to the predictions for the weekend, I want to talk about briefly. You're going to give you about a minute and a half each. I want to tell me how you want Wolves to set up and what you want us to do at Man City. And I think I know what you're going to say, Tyler. Sorry, Knocker. So we'll start with Tyler first.
I'm with Knocker. Just go for it. Like, I'm sorry. We've shut up shop on Saturday and come away with no points, and we'll shut up shop on Saturday against Man City. We'll come up with no points. I'm with Knocker. Just have a go. Play 4 at the back. If we're going to have to play 4 at the back over Christmas and New Year anyway, let's start doing it now. So I'd go 4 at the back. I'd put the 2 midfield, and I'd play the 3 behind Jimenez. Yeah, we might lose, but I think we're going to lose anyway. So 4-2-3-1 for me. And I'd rather lose 3 or 4-1 and have a go than how we lost on Saturday. So I'm with Knocker.
Knocker.
And that is not his real name, Terry Towling. Just can we confirm that? Can we get clarification on that, right? Terry Towling is Tumble Dryer. It just doesn't work.
That's brilliant.
I completely agree. Yeah, I'd go 4-2-3-1. I'd have a right good go at them. And if we were to get beat 6-0 there, no one in the media is going to care, are they? No one's going to care less because they can do that to anyone. So, they've been to Old Trafford and it's 6 or 7 goals. They've scored goals all over the place. So we're going to lose the game whatever we do. So I'd rather we had a little bit of a go at them. And if we lose 3-1, you know what? We're on the board again, aren't we? Maybe someone gets that goal that kickstarts us again. But yeah, I don't want to sit in. I don't want to just try and scrap a point out of it. It's a bonus point. So let's see if we can't get our hands on a few of them.
Now, bear with me while I try and explain myself and justify what I'm saying. I want us to play a more defensive side with a more attacking intent. So hear me out. I want to bring Dendoncker into the midfield and have 3 across the middle. So you've got the wing-backs and the 3 in the middle. And then I want Adama and Raul at top, but I don't want them to come back. I want them to stay up there, yeah? So you defend with a 9, and I want to have the ability to maybe Raul to link in to feed Adama, give him something to think about. I don't want everyone coming back. I'm happy to put an extra man in midfield because they have got some incredible footballers. You know what I mean? That are so, so good. I mean, that first 20 minutes against Watford on Saturday night was like someone was playing FIFA. It was incredible. Yeah. Now, I want to have a go. Granted, I want to have a go, but I think we've won there. We won there with wing backs before. I'm not expecting us to win. I'm not. But I think leaving Adama up front with Raul gives them something to think about. It gives them a chance, just an opportunity. Because, as you said, no defender, doesn't matter, don't care if you're John Stones, Kyle Walker, whoever, you're not going to want to defend against Adama Traore. So for me, pack the midfield, tuck in. But you know what, though? Leave that threat up front. That's what I want. Dendoncker in. If Aït-Nouri's not fit, I don't know what we're going to do. We've got a minute left, boys. Sorry for taking that spelling, but I felt quite strongly about that. I know I mentioned it earlier on.
It works if we're attacking.
If they're staying on the halfway line, no problem, yeah.
If we're joining in with the attack, if we're brave, it absolutely works.
got 45 seconds. Knockout, I want your first scorer and your prediction for the weekend.
Well, my head's going to tell me it's going to be 3-0 Man City, but I've got to go with my heart. So I'll go for a 1-1.
Woo!
And I think we'll come from behind. Bernardo Silva with the opener.
20 seconds. Go. Tyler?
3-0 Man City.
Okay, I accept that.
Bernardo, Bernardo's I think he's the best in the league at the moment, so I'll pop him first.
I'm gonna go with an ambitious 1-1 and a Dharma again. This has been episode 14 of the Wolves Report. Thanks to Mark, not Chris Tyler, speaking with my heart. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you for comments. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at the Wolves.